And hey everybody, welcome to Prop Live, your weekly prop and costume making Q&A session. I'm Bill, that's Steve, live and in the shop, here to answer your costume and prop technique questions and talk all about Emerald City Comicon.
Which should be pretty awesome.
Which is why you're here.
It is why I'm here.
Not just to
hang out and paint stuff in your shop. And
not just so I can put you to work. Yes, welcome Prop Tarts in the chat. We got I see some regulars in there. Welcome everybody. Steve, what have we been up to? We've been kind of busy the last day since you flew into town.
Yeah, it was a day yesterday.
It sure was.
I'm from Kansas City. Got up at like 2:30 in the morning to catch a flight to Phoenix, and then caught another flight up here. And then we pretty much ran for several hours.
We did. We got groceries, then we got Steven and Kit, and then we brought them to Seattle. Then we went to Bellevue.
We got Five Guys.
We got Five Guys burgers and fries.
And then painted miniatures.
We did. We were guests on my friend April's show over at Hyper RPG, painting miniatures, which was really fun. Then we came back here. And then my computer died. So this morning I went to get my computer fixed. It's been a ride. And then I poured a bunch of resin on the ground. Of course, if you guys are not aware of Steve's work, you might not even know that you are aware of it. Steve, and it stopped working. I promise you guys I had a website ready to go. There we go. That's the wrong one. There we go. So SKSprops.com. Do you have this little number right here? Yeah, you do. Oh, and that, of course, that's the one that you guys are probably most aware of recently. We'll talk about that in a moment. But let's talk about the this guy.
So, Skeletron from the cult classic movie now, Turbo Kid. I've actually only worn this costume once, and it was to Dragon Con, so I figured since I can't bring the orc, I might as well bring something else that I haven't worn a bunch.
So that one you'll have at Emerald City, which will be really fun.
Yeah.
It's got a spinny blade.
It's really fun because it's his spinny blade, and I actually constructed this in one day, the day before I left for Dragon Con.
Yep.
And
like one does.
It's all foam fab on there, and so it's all nice and safe, and has a actual spinny blade.
Pretty fantastic. So what day you're gonna have what on this weekend?
On Friday, I guess that's tomorrow.
Yep. Tomorrow.
I will be doing Bandit Steve from Borderlands. I'm currently repainting his pistol because Bill's like, "What are we gonna do today?" And I'm like, "Oh, I guess I'm gonna be Bandit Steve." And I looked at a pistol that I painted 3.5 years ago, and it's just not.
This is no good.
It's not cutting. Yeah, so it has been completely repainted. You'll see it all tomorrow on that one. And then I'll wear a Skeletron on Saturday for our panels and our meetups and whatnot. So it should be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
And Sunday, I don't know if I'm dressing up at all. We'll see how I feel.
Yeah. So I'm wearing my new Han Solo costume tomorrow. And then Saturday will probably be Lord Shaxx. And my wife, Brittany, will do her Vex, and we have a bunch of panels in a meetup. And we'll get to that in just a second. And I think I'm going to throw Old Man Han on again on Sunday. It's really comfortable. I kind of like that.
It's almost like a cheat costume.
A jacket and like real pants.
Jacket and pants.
So at Emerald City, speak of the devil, why doesn't that want to work? Let's go over here. Oops, there it is. I will be doing a number of panels if you're going to be there. So on Saturday, I'll be doing Cosplay 202 at 12:30. And then at 3, I'll be doing Cosplay Like a Pro. Wait, you're doing on this one?
I'm doing the one with the advanced techniques.
Yeah, the Cosplay 202, both me and Steve. Actually, I'm going to click on that for a second. You guys are going to want to be there. This is a pretty amazing cast of characters. Eric Jones, Chad, Alicia, Steven and me, and Gary Crowell. That's going to be a really good one. I'm stoked about that. And then another one later that day, Prop and Armor Q&A. I'll be on that one. And then the next day, Prop Making on a Budget. And then Saturday at like 4:15, right after the Cosplay Like a Pro panel, I'm doing a meetup. And that's bit.ly/ECC/prop/ dash prop dash meetup. There will be a link to all of this stuff down in the show notes, so guys can go see that. But that's going to be really fun, just sort of like meet and greet, hang out, talk shop with everyone who wants to go be there.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be cool too. If you're going to Emerald City, if you're in the area and you don't have a badge, we're going to meet up in the international meeting area, which you don't need a badge to be there, which is sweet. So that's what's going on. Oh, there's an animated GIF of Steve. Wait a minute. Brittany linked this, and it doesn't want to work, of course. Hold the phone. Let me see if I can figure out how to make this do what I need it to do. That, and then that. There we go. See if I can zoom in. There's from the Beatdown Boogie video. Yes. If you guys haven't gone to see the Beatdown Boogie video from C2E2, you really ought to go check that out. Again, we'll have a link to that in the show notes. Yeah. And of course, all weekend long, that's all people are going to say.
Where's the orc?
Where's the orc?
The orc?
Where's the orc?
The orc is back in Kansas City because just one boot of the orc would take up a suitcase.
Yes. So how was C2E2?
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'd never gone to that one before.
I've never been.
And,
not yet.
A lot of friends were like, you got to check that one out.
Yep.
And then I heard that the World Cosplay Championship was going to be there, so I decided, you know what, I usually don't do costume contests, but I'm like, if I'm going up against people in the world, I mean, that's something to check out. Mm-hmm. And the costumes were amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, it was really impressive.
From all around the world.
From around the world. But no, it was an awesome convention. It's huge. The atmosphere and everything is really, really cool. Mm-hmm. The orc made it, I was not going to wear it on Friday. Yeah. And I went to the con in my Borderlands gear, and everyone that knew me and recognized me was like, "Where's the orc? We've seen the Psycho Band."
Yeah, you know, get that old trash out of here.
So I went back to the hotel room, switched over to the orc Friday, and from then on it was just nuts for that.
Yeah.
You know, people went crazy. It was really, really cool. By far the most uncomfortable costume I've ever been in my entire life. The heat that is generated in that thing is pretty substantial.
It's like just an oven. It's all foam.
It's all foam construction. And then it's like foam with upholstery foam with latex. So, I mean, it's an oven.
You survived, though? You took home some prizes?
I did. I was really fortunate. Like I said, I usually don't enter costume contests, but I figured I wanted to give it a shot, honestly, more just for publicity for the orc, and then like people started following it, and publicity was no longer an issue because it was on the RPF and everywhere else. But during the costume contest, I won first in the video games category, and then I won first in the U.S. regional. And then if you win those two, then you got to go against the 8 people that were flown in from around the world. Yeah. So they were from France, Australia, Spain, and then these people each won their region of their country. And so, like, I was very excited to win the U.S. regional, and then I go up and I'm like seeing all these other amazing costumes, and I'm like, yeah, I got my orc over here. But I was very, very excited to come in 3rd place in the world competition as well. And like I said, just to even be named with those other people that were there was an honor in itself.
Brittany just linked the RPF thread that you have going for that build. If you guys are looking to see just the whole thing together, that's where it all is in the RPF there.
And that picture there, that's the one that I want to post when it's all done, and then post the final version of the orc and be like, how many people believed me when I said I was going to build an orc, and this is what I started off with and got to the finish?
Yeah, that's cool. So the whole thing is documented. Definitely go check that out, everybody. Fantastic. Let's see, what else do we have coming up? I want to make sure I got everything covered. Oh, for today's show, we're going to be answering your questions here really soon. If you want to ask a prop and costume technique question, go to punishedprops.com/live. There's a form that you can fill out right there. I'm going to close that RPF build thread because it's eating up all the RAM on my computer. If you go to punishedprops.com/live, you can submit a question right there, and we will do our best to get to it today. let's see. What else we have? Oh, we have our new book out. Last week we launched it during this live show. It's out now. A bunch of you guys have gone to grab it. But, you know, it's still available. You can still go get it. punishprops.com/Foamsmith for Foamsmith 2, how to forge foam weapons, how to make... I don't have any foam weapons on hand. Brittany just finished displaying, like, all of our props on the wall, and they look really nice up there, but they're on the wall, so... I do actually have a good photo on my Facebook page that's pinned at the top with all of our foam weapons, so it's worth going, even if you just go check that out, but... thank you everyone so far who's bought the new book. You guys are awesome, and I can't wait to see what awesome things you make. Finally, of course, we would be remiss if we did not thank our patrons at patreon.com/punishprops. You guys have been awesome helping support the show. All of our video content gets supported that way. And I know that our prop tarts in the chat here, I know most of you guys are the other patrons. So you guys are awesome. Thank you for showing up every week. And thank you for pitching a couple bucks our way to keep this thing going. Other than that, I think we're just about ready to start tackling your prop and costume making questions. Venger in the chat says, his question is, what would you do if the show didn't have enough questions to fill an hour? I can talk straight for an hour, nonstop. I don't know if anyone knows that about me. I can just talk for an hour until people start leaving. So don't you worry. I can fill time. People don't know that too. Like, that's happened before. I noticed that, like, the questions are dwindling. There aren't enough left. And I'm like, my answers start getting more long-winded.
Or then we just switch a camera to,
Yeah.
let's paint something for 20 minutes.
Awesome. Cool. Let's get going. This one's from Aiden. In the film industry, there are situations where they make full stunt-ready suits, like the Halo Reach Spartan suits and all that. The Forward Unto Dawn. Did you ever watch that?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that Master Chief costume. He was like rolling in it and like jumping around. They had Oakley do the visors. That was a really cool one. I was wondering if there's any sort of resin or foam that comes to mind to make a stunt-ready suit. How stunt-ready is that orc?
The orc is, well, it's an orc. I mean, he lumbers around, right?
Yeah. I would say, what if you fell?
Well, luckily the fall would be soft because it's all foam. But other than that, like, would the orcs survive?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a reason why, you know, Warcraft probably doesn't have full size orcs in their movie. They just don't move the same.
Yep.
But I know, like, that Halo armor, though, that was all rubber.
Yeah.
For the entire thing.
Yeah, they'll either like injection mold rubber out of molds. If they need a lot of them, they'll make molds and injection mold a lot of them. If I was gonna make one, I would go figure. I'd make it all out of foam if I wanted to make armor. I wouldn't make it fiberglass if they're gonna be rolling or falling a lot to do stunts, because fiberglass could crack. Then you get shards of fiberglass in your face. I'd do it out of foam, and then I would coat it with lots and lots of rubber, probably latex rubber. Our friends, and I mention them all the time, but my friends over at Artifix make armor and props for LARP, and they're really, really robust and durable. When I was there, Nick grabbed a piece of armor from like their loft and just threw it on the ground, and then jumped on it. It was just stomping on armor, and at the time I had my my Titan armor, which was all coated in Epsilon, which is a hard shell, but it's brittle. If you did that, it would have shattered. And this thing, he's just like stomp, 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 stomp. Indestructible. It's just flexible and indestructible.
And the great thing about that, too, I mean, if you were to do a foam build and you had, pieces to replace, easy to do them.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to... If I was going to make a stunt-ready suit, I would do it with flexible EVA foam and latex rubber. My Lord Shax is that way. There's some spots on it that I would do differently the next time I do it, but it's pretty durable. Like, you can roll around it. Actually, let me go grab my axe real quick.
Which this axe that he's bringing out, it blew my mind. I mean, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, this is EVA foam with latex on it, and it is completely indestructible. And you can just, like, it's not going to get, like, I can hit it on the concrete, Oops. And it comes apart on purpose. Like that. And it's not going to break. Like, this is a stunt-ready prop. And I would make my armor the same way. Would you do that? I was going to say, would you do that with one of your buzz axes?
No.
Shatter!
With a buzz axe, that's a 5-pound solid piece of resin.
Or with, like, the Mass Effect guns that I have upstairs. Like, if you smack that on the ground, pieces are just going to shatter off of it. There you go, Aiden. I'm excited to see if you're making anything like that. If you've got a DIY film project you're working on, that'd be really cool. All right. Mans Lindy. I'm about to order materials for molding and casting. I was wondering how much silicone I should get. More than you think you need. The Master is a Stormtrooper helmet, but since it's my first time, I also want extra material for small test molds as well. Get a bucket of it. Like if you're going to...
It keeps going, I think.
Does it keep going? Oh, I'm using Amazon links for your molding and casting videos. Cool, thank you. I'm afraid the trial size will not be enough. That's true.
Will not be.
That won't be enough. You'll want to go and get like a gallon bucket of it. So if you're doing a brush-on mold, I'd use Rebound 25. And it's a couple $100, but it's 2-gallon jugs.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be your biggest cost getting into it. Like when I first started doing the masks, the clay is like $30. You know, and plastic paste $60. But yeah, the rebound is going to run you like $180.
Yeah, but
it's a lot.
With that much rebound, though, for a mask, you could do several mask molds.
Definitely.
For a helmet, you may be able to do like 2 or 3 good-sized helmet molds out of that. You'll definitely have plenty left over. So I get Rebound 25, get the full gallon kit of it. It's actually 2 jugs. You'll have more than you need for a helmet, and you'll have more than you'll need for when you mess up and you have to do it again. Which is all a part of the learning process.
Oh, my first molds are so bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just showing Steven one I made. Because you did some Borderlands stuff. I was like, I made a Borderlands mask, too. Made a Handsome Jack mask a while ago. Like 3 years ago. The mold is atrocious. The castings are okay, and I can clean them up after the fact. But the mold itself is just a nightmare. But that's how you learn.
Learning, yep.
Other people in the chat are quoting the price. Rebound 25, $183.95 plus tax and shipping. Yeah, about $200 to get that delivered to your door. But it goes a long way. Thank you, Mans Lindy, for the question. I was doing some casting today. I got some pieces. Boop. And so there's a puddle of resin on the ground that is a testament to all the work I did today.
Well, I don't know if that part was work. But
what was that like? Because I was way over there pouring resin into a mold. And what did you...
I heard expletives. And then Brittany and I ran over and grabbed clamps.
So much swearing, yeah. What happened was my mold wasn't clamped tight enough, and I poured resin in, and it just poured out the bottom all over the floor mats. Yeah. So, anyway, I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll cut up the floor mats and frame it and throw it on eBay and see if someone wants to buy it. Sign it. There we go.
Builder and exclusives, special, limited edition.
Very limited. One of a kind, actually. Limited edition, one of one. Let's see. We've got a link here. I'm going to fire that up. It's a link to Rocketman Props page. Michelle Blah? Do you have any experience with casting gemstones? I missed the question. So I'll go back to that one. If so, how did you get a feel for coloring? Tips on translucent blue gems would be appreciated. So this person linked to Rocketman Props. I really wish it wouldn't freaking show all my friends. That's awesome. Anyway, Rocketman Props is probably in the chat right now. You could actually go ask him because he does tons and tons of gem casting, and he's like the gem casting guy. And he frequents our chat. He is one of our prop tarts. And there goes that thing again. In fact, I have to go to this page for some reason and then go back to that page. Prop Tarts. So we have our page, Prop Tarts of Punished Props. Feel free to go join it over there. Lots of people in there, and including, I believe, Rocket Man Props. So you can go post your question right in there about the gems, and he will probably get back to you because he's a nice guy. Yeah, but other than that, I don't do a lot of... oh no, he's in the chat. That's awesome. I don't do a lot of gem casting. Have you done any translucent?
I have not.
Yeah, we've only done a very little bit. What we've learned for a lot of it is we use our pressure caster. We have a pressure pot right here. Its name is Jeff, thanks to you guys. And bubbles are definitely going to be a concern, so that's where the pressure pot comes in handy. But that's about the limit of my knowledge, but go ask Rocket Man, because he's right there. And that question came from Michiel Blah. And... yeah, good luck with your gemstones. Next question comes from Aaron. I'm currently trying to create a sword that has an edge that lights up. I was planning on using an acrylic sheet for the edge with lights on the inside to light up the acrylic. Do you know any good ways to paint or dye the acrylic so it's still translucent without boiling it? The piece would be about 36 inches long, so it could not be boiled and dye. You could boil it and dye. You just need a really big pot.
I know a lot of people that do the Zero swords from Borderlands.
Yeah.
They'll do it just clear acrylic on some of them and do blue LEDs.
Yeah,
to
colored
have it go
lights.
Through.
And you can get acrylic in lots of different colors too. I like, if I'm going to use acrylic, I'll use an opaque acrylic because it diffuses the light a lot. It makes it a lot dimmer, but it diffuses it. You don't get all those hot spots. Do you have, I was talking about Tap Plastics. Do you have a plastic supplier you go to in town?
I haven't located one yet. I need to because I'd like to start getting back into some of the styrenes and stuff like that. It's expensive to ship them around. Yeah.
Oh, Corium9 is worried about Mary Poppins. On the stream the other day, I dropped my pressure pot, or not my pressure pot, my evacuator. Its name is Mary Poppins because it pops up.
Right. I got the reference.
Mary Poppins is just fine. A little bit of cosmetic damage. The faceplate on the pressure gauge popped off, but it still functions. It's still fine. I may have to replace that though. Yeah, Tried It at Home has his cosplay supply store, and he says that he can get anyone. I can get anyone whatever color acrylic they need. Yeah, go. Ask Tried This at Home about that. Using the color of acrylic that you want or using colored LEDs that you want can be one really good way to get the appropriate color you need. Yeah, actually, this reminds me. There's a project that I did a long time ago. The Warglaive of Azzinoth. Speaking of World of Warcraft. See if I can find this on my own webpage. Warglaive. I did something similar to what they're talking about. And I believe I used... Yeah, there it is. Nope. Let's try this one more time. Whoop. There it is. And I can move this back over. There we go. That's clear acrylic with green lights behind it. Yeah. And it worked out really, really great. So, yeah. That's how I would do it. And I have too many tabs open. Let's grab one from Laura. What's the best way you found to clean up parts A and B of silicone and resin if you aren't able to let them cure to peel up later? For example, if you spill it, get it on your hands or make use of reusable containers. How do you do that, Steve? Like, I know when you mix up some silicone and it's cured in the cup, you can just peel it out. It's super easy. Right. But if some of it's not cured, do you have a favorite way to clean it up?
No, I've never had the silicone not cure, honestly. Yeah. I've been lucky on that side. But I've done the stupid thing of I've got my A and B resins and my mold ready, and like I don't pour them into something and mix it, and I just pour it in, and then I'm like, what the hell?
So, I did that a couple weeks ago where I poured it into the mold, and I was like, oh, damn it. So I poured Psi A in the mold, and then I stirred it in the mold, and I was like, fingers crossed.
Yeah, that has never worked for me.
No.
So then you have to pour it all out and then completely wipe the entire mold out because any residual in there will just mess up the area.
Yeah. And just using like paper towels, like really just getting into all the nooks and crannies and crevices is the best way to do it. Here's a cup I just poured resin in, and this is specifically for mixing this sort of stuff, so things don't stick to this type of plastic. And I can grab a little piece and just peel out that part right there. And there's another piece of artwork there I'll be putting on eBay later today. And on the inside of the cup, there's some residue in there. So I just take a paper towel and just wipe it out. I don't necessarily need a solvent or anything. You could use like rubbing alcohol if you want, but I just do that, and that's good to go. That's good for more resin casting. Eventually these get really gross and you just throw them away because they are plastic cups.
I go to the dollar store and buy just stacks of little plastic cups. I've got the paint ones from Lowe's.
Yeah, that's what these ones here are. Except that these ones, tell me if this makes sense. The measuring starts at 50 milliliters, then 150, then 250, at 350, then 500, then 650, then 750. Like, are those common measurements?
I've never used the side of it.
No, I have no idea. Anyway, it doesn't make any sense. I like the tap plastics one because they just go up every 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and then it's got ounces right next to it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a cup snob. But for the silicone, it's the same thing. If there's any little bits of gummy or gooey silicone in there, I just use a paper towel and just scrub it until it all comes out. It's a pain in the ass sometimes if a bunch of it didn't cure, but
the only time I've really had that plasti paste when I mix that up because sometimes it's so thick that you can't get all of it.
Right. I will with silicone. Generally, I have the two parts, and I have cups big enough that I can pour all of them into one cup, mix it together, and then pour it back into the first cup, mix that together, really scraped on the sides, and then I'll pour both of those into a bigger cup that only fills it about a third of the way, put that in the vacuum chamber to get rid of degas the bubbles. And when you mix back and forth enough, all of the silicone gets mixed together, so whatever's left in the cups will usually cure all the way, and then you just peel it out. And then you get these things. Whoop. The little bit that's left behind in the bottom of the...
Don't throw it away.
No, keep these.
Those are great for Bondo.
Yeah, Bondo or like a two-part epoxy or whatever for mixing stuff, because nothing will stick to it. There we go. I think we thoroughly covered that one. Good luck cleaning up your silicone, Laura. This next one here comes from Fearless Facade. Have you ever been hassled by someone to undertake a prop commission you're just not interested in regardless of money offers? I'm in this situation at the moment. How can I rectify this without being a total dick butt? Everyone has a price. Everyone has a price. Just make sure that price is really, really high.
Yeah, I had that after Dead Space.
Yeah.
I had lots of people want me to make an Isaac Clarke suit for them.
Yeah.
And I was like, there is no way I am ever making one of these ever again. And for a stupid amount of money, maybe, but they're not.
Yeah, it would have to be like mortgage level or like down payment level money to do that. That's where my priority right now is. I don't see things in terms of money or dollars. I see them in terms of how much of a house can I buy with that. Get ready to start house shopping. I've never had too much of a problem with that. I will say that like learning how to say no is something that took me a while to figure out. Sometimes you'll end up with a project and you realize that you didn't charge enough money for it, or you're wrist deep in it and you're like, I hate this, like I'm not having any fun with this. What's important is finish that project, get paid whatever you agreed on, and then learn from that and never do it again. That's really what's the important takeaway from that. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet. If you promised someone something already, the best thing you can do is follow through on it, get it done, and move on with your life. But if you haven't agreed on anything and someone really is still hassling you, just keep moving that dollar sign up a little bit more and more.
I just throw out other people's names and like, go hassle.
Yeah. That's I know enough people now too. Like if someone comes to me with a trophy thing, I'm like, Harrison, he's the trophy guy now.
Well,
So
that's the thing too. Is like they'll come to me for a prop or a mask that someone else I know already makes.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I had someone was like, "Hey, Bill, do you have a Harley Quinn gun?" I was like, "No, but I bet I know someone who does." And sure enough, like 5 minutes on Facebook, I'm like, "Igor's got one. Go over to Mr. Pinsky. He's got one of those." There you go, Fearless Facade. Hopefully, some really good professional advice for you right there. All right, next question comes from Suzanne. Steven, would you ever post a video of you putting on your orc costume or taking it off? Wing. I added that part. Curious to see how difficult the process is.
We really wanted to do a video when we were at Chicago putting it on, because we thought it would be like this. Like, I'd done trial runs, and it was taking a while, but yeah, it was like the first time I put it on. We got that thing down to 5 minutes to get it on and 4 minutes to get it off. I mean, it is ridiculous how easy the entire costume goes on.
Does it matter what you wear under it?
I just had like Under Armour.
Yeah. But like you don't see any of that.
No, I mean, because you got a complete muscle suit.
Right.
And all it does, it zips up the back.
Yeah.
Shoulder pads go on, pants go on, and then you just step into the boots and you grab the gloves. Mm-hmm. And then someone has to put the helmet on.
Yeah,
because you can't reach your head.
Your hands become useless.
Yeah, it's like, I have a scratch on my nose.
Yeah, no. That's when you need a really good friend to scratch your nose for you.
So I will be taking the orc. I haven't really announced this yet, but it will be going to Denver Comic-Con. They were gracious enough to give me a booth, and so I will be setting it up there, and I also will be wearing it for a bit on some of the days. So maybe when we're at Denver, we can get some people to film it, and so people see how it goes on.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, super easy.
We did a video. Brittany and I did a video on our Shax and Vex costumes. I'm putting those on, so we'll link that one in the show notes as well for this episode. Yeah, that is kind of interesting, especially with the bigger, more elaborate costumes. Like, where's the person in there? Where's your head go? Or there's one I can't remember, but oh no, it was Ryan Wells did the dude from Hellboy 2. Mm-hmm.
And the head was up here, and he looked out the neck
hole. Basically looked out the neck hole. And once you see it, you're like, oh, cool. But there's that moment where you're not quite sure.
Well, I mean, we're already not very tall, but like, he's even a little bit shorter than us, I think. So, but height-wise, it came out great for that build.
Exactly, yeah. He was normal
which is, height. Like on the orc, I'm 5'6". Mm-hmm. In the orc, I'm 6'7".
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've got lifts in the boots. I've got arm extensions, But the head, I actually look out of the eyes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool. There you go. That one came from Suzanne. Next one comes from Dagger Elk. You mentioned that you want your business to move away from prop commissions and into more content. How does one profit from content outside of ads, Patreon, and book sales? What's wrong with those three things? There are a bunch of different ways. Basically, it's about diversifying your revenue streams. If you guys want to hear some business talk for a little while, a lot of times people who make stuff and sell things for a living only have that one revenue stream, and the problem is if something happens to that, then you're in trouble. So what we've tried to do, and this has taken us years to figure out and get good at, is have lots of different eggs in your basket, so to speak. So we have our book sales. Sometimes we'll do sponsorships. We work with Tested. I'm writing for them now, for which they pay me, which is a nice arrangement. What else? Oh, and there's a new article up on Tested that I wrote. You should go check it out. We have YouTube ad revenue, which is actually not amazing, but it's another part of the pie. And we have our book sales, and we have YouTube or Amazon affiliate links. So if you guys ever click on one of our Amazon links that we have in our videos, we get a tiny bit of that. It's a lot of little pieces, mm-hmm. and it's a slow burn. But as you build up, it all becomes enough. Over time. So yeah, that's basically what we do. Fortunately, I still have that thing in my back pocket where if I need to make some money, I'd be like, oh, commissions are open. If I really do need to to pick stuff up. But right now we're doing okay with just the content game, which is awesome. But you should definitely still go buy my book. Available at punishprops.com. There you go, Dagger Elk. Hopefully that satisfied your need. Next one comes from Broken Blade Workshop. I've been weathering using your methods for the longest time, but there's one thing I haven't gotten completely right. Realistic battle damage. Things like gouges, bullet holes, scratches. I'd love to hear your input on how you do it. What do you have to say about that, Steve? You do a lot of painting and weathering.
I do, and that's the thing. It's a combination of manipulating your material, but then accentuating it with the paint, because you can make it look deeper than it is by painting it to look deeper. But this guy taught me and talked me into using foam 3 years ago when we met at Phoenix Comicon. And before I started any of my builds, I went out to my shop for 2 days with foam and then just tore it up with a bunch of different Dremel bits, and I took pictures of what every single bit did. Yeah. And so then I had a reference to be, all right, if I need this kind of a scratch, I use this bit, and so you have that, but then painting on top of it really helps it out.
Yeah, the main thing that I see where people don't, they kind of do it okay with it, but mostly miss the mark, is when they don't really add any texture. So if you're making something like, when something's dirty, it picks up not just colors. It picks up dirt and grime and dust and gritty things. So if you really want something to look like it's old and weathered, like it's accumulated stuff, it's going to be not, that area is not going to be smooth. There's going to be texture there. Or if a part of like a handle on a gun or something that's been worn a lot, that's going to be really smooth. It's going to be almost shiny. So if you look in the world like I don't know, that's rubberized like this. That's all right. So the thumb part right here, it's hard to see on the camera. The thumb part here is shinier than the rest of this thing. This thing is thoroughly weathered. This actually came from Vulpin Prop Shop, and now it's mine. And I hope he doesn't miss it, because I took it when I was there. No, that's not true. But spots where your hand is touching it a lot is going to be shinier than the rest of it. And there are a lot of different ways to accomplish that.
But yeah, just play around with resin or your foam and just tear it up and use a heat gun, see what's going on.
And go to the hobby shop. Look at, like, you showed me all the flocking and stuff that you had for model making. They have like powders and stuff that are designed. It's not just a color; it's a powder that leaves like a texture. Fuller's Dirt, I think, or Fuller's Earth, or something you can look up.
A lot of this stuff, and just use like Elmer's glue, and you paint it in there, dip this in there, and then some of it will stick, and it'll dry in there, and then you got sandy stuff and all of the like greased areas of like a weapon, and
Oh yeah, like that's like in the, I'm looking in the crevice in between here, like there is some smegma in there. There's some nasty bits, but it's not smooth anymore. It's accumulated
dust
stuff, like chunky stuff in there. So that's all of those things. Keep them in mind when you're doing your weathering. And I especially like your recommendation to experiment a lot. Try things out. I just threw it away, but I was working on a belt with metal and leather, and I didn't want to commit to the final piece because that leather was expensive. So I got some scraps and did some experiments on it until I figured it out. Let's see. That came from Broken Blade Workshop. Thank you. That's a good question. Next one comes from Venger. I'm having a hard time scaling props accurately relative to the props source and real life. What do you do when you deal with unrealistic prop proportions when trying to scale something to realistic human sizes? Do you base the props scale from a fixed point, like the handle, or do you simply wing it and go with what looks good?
My orc was totally wing it. I like when I decided I'm going to build a giant orc.
Yep.
I drew an orc on my wall.
Yeah.
Like the entire wall. Yeah, that one picture was all just drawn up there, and then I would hold up, like I'd build something like the arm or the hand, and I'd hold it up to the drawing and see like, all right, how close is this, to try to keep all of it in proportion.
I like that, keeping that. I'll bring this thing up again. Oh, my poor computer. I have to go to this page first. Do that, and then go over this drawing right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but your goal was to make like the weapon look proportional to that, not to a human.
Right. So, like when I got to the X part of it, it was taking other pieces of foam and like basically joining them together and be like, okay, this is about the scale I want, and then I took all that and put it all on paper, and then transferred it to the final block foam that I had.
Right. Yeah. I will say that I usually I have a reference image of myself standing next to a ruler, and I took that picture and it's on my computer. And when I'm scaling stuff, I'll bring the blueprint into that and scale it so it looks appropriately sized for me if it's a costume that's mostly just human sized. And that's how big I make the prop. If it's a gun, I use my hand. I have a reference image of my hand. Actually, I made a post about that for about scaling guns, and there's a free picture. There it is right there. How about that? Let's go there, and then go over there. There it is. So that's the image I use. That's a realistically sized gun in my hand next to a ruler. So I can drop this in a Photoshop file with my prop gun design, scale that so that it looks appropriately sized in my hand, and then I'll know how long it is because I got a ruler right there. That's usually how I do that. And then if I'm not quite sure, I'll usually scale it up a little bit, because if it looks too big, that's usually okay. If it's too small, you're done with your gun, you're like, oh, it's tiny. It's a little kid gun.
And then when I did Borderlands Buzz Axe, there was the screen references for that are just awful.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just terrible. So I bought the action figure, and I had to leave it in the package because I liked the whole box and everything for it. But then I actually measured the little tiny Buzz Axe that came with the action figure and scaled it based off of that.
I actually have the what was it? The little Nova statue. I bought it at BlizzCon. I had already built the gun, but I wanted the tiny little version of it. I want tiny little versions of everything. Okay, let's see. That question came to us from Venger. Next one comes from Rocket Man Props. Hey, Rocket Man. Any tips for turning a personal cosplay build into a boon for your business, whether through honest earnings or advertising? That's interesting. So that orc thing, you documented that really, really well. You had an RPF thread on it. But what was your goal with documenting it that well?
It was more of a personal thing. I really respect what you and Harrison did.
Mm-hmm.
Harrison got me into prop making with a lot of his stuff, and so when I do a big build like that, and about every year I do Dead Space, I did Destiny, I did Turbo Kid, the Orc. It is all kind of on the publicity side of it because I want to build a giant orc, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But then I also want as many people as possible to see it.
Yeah.
So
you're building hype for it as people are following the.
And that's what I really got off of this one was when I was posting on the RPF. People were commenting I come back every single day to see what the new update is. What Steve got today from on the orc, and it became this thing where people wanted to see it finished, and then when I showed the final images,
Yeah.
So, it is one of those things, the boom in the business part of it. I mean, I've gotten, cons are bringing me out now because of the orc, winning the contest got me notoriety from that. I now have a couple of companies that have contacted me and want to know, hey, can you build stuff and then come to our booths to show? So I'm one build that I really wanted to do could turn into further things.
Yep. You could also, it really depends on your business model, right? How you want to capitalize on the publicity you would get from that. So if you're looking to pick up costume commissions, doing a big elaborate costume that builds all that hype It's a great way to do it because when people see that, they'll say, oh, I want one, or I want something like that. And that's a great way to start taking on costume commissions. You could also do your regular build threads on your own website too. And once you have your own website, you could put ads on that if that's a way that you want to make money. A little bit of money that way too. It really depends on whatever your business model is. I know Rocket Man Props does his gems, but if he wants to move into some other sort of commission-based thing or expand on his Etsy store, then he could do a big build that involves the sort of thing that you want to sell that a lot of people are interested in, and when they show up going, oh my gosh, that's amazing, you can be like, well, look what else I have on my Etsy store.
Yeah, and that's Bill and I had talked about that. That's one thing of, people find the orc and then it comes back to my Facebook and then links to my
your
shops
Etsy store
and everything. So,
or that I think a more one-to-one example too, though, would be like the Destiny build, because people see your Destiny costume, that's really cool. How'd you do the mask? You're like, well, here's a build thread on it, but if you want one,
but I've already done it for you.
I already did it. You can just go. You can just go buy it. So yeah, again, it really just depends on your end goal with your business. For me, with the prop stuff, so with the prop making books that we sell, I make foam armor. I make foam weapons, like this axe right here. And when people go, oh my goodness, how'd you make that? I'll say, I got a book all about it. You can go pick it up for $10 on my website. That's a pretty good one-to-one thing. And realistically, if I wanted to do another really big push for now we have the armor and the prop books, maybe for Dragon Con, I'd make a really big, couple month-long foam weapon and armor build, and at the end of that have this big showpiece that lots of people are interested in, and then I can use that to capitalize on book sales. So that sounds like something I should do. I just came up with a good idea for Dragon Con. Okay, there you go, Rocket Man. Good luck with your gems, sir. C. Skipro says, if you were going to make the Covenant light sword from Halo and wanted it to be durable, what would you make it from? I've been seeing some lightsabers that are durable enough for sword fights. What are those made from? I don't know what the Covenant light sword is. I'm going to look it up. Do you have an idea, Steve?
I don't play Halo.
Okay. I'm going to do... Oh, is it this wacky blade thing? I've seen this before. So this is the thing. Whoop. Doing something like that's transparent can be really challenging.
Yeah. Durability,
yeah. I wouldn't build it so that it could take a hit. It's probably not going to be able to take a hit. I would probably make it from acrylic. It'd be a little heavy, and if you smacked it against another one of these, like you were sword fighting, it would probably shatter.
Because, if you went durability-wise, and even if you did, Warbler, like the clear Warbler, it's still not going to be that perfect for the translucency on it.
No, I would probably make it from laminated sheets of acrylic. You can make it look really good. But I tend to make things, I care more about how they look than how necessarily how durable they are.
Full contact LARPing for Halo.
Yeah.
It's
The other thing you could do, though, is you could totally foam fabricate that. It's not going to be transparent, but you could fake it with a decent paint job. So that's another way you could go. It's not going to be perfect, but if you want, it really depends. How durable do you want it, or how much do you want it to look just like that thing? Pick one. Yeah. I do know that I've seen people make those out of metal with a weird iridescent finish on there. And you can just buy those. Some people all over the internet are selling those. I think they look like crap, but that's just me. Also, they probably won't let you take that into a convention, a big metal bladey thing.
Yeah, they are cracking down a lot more.
Mm-hmm. As they should, because people make terrible decisions at conventions with lots of other people. We have a local, or where I grew up, we had a local Renaissance fair, a really nice Ren fair. And by the time I had started going there in the late 90s, no one was allowed to bring real weapons, real metal weapons. Because at that point, someone had already screwed it up for everyone else. A couple of, like, 2 dudes got drunk and then sword fought at the Ren Fair. And they're like, that's it. You ruined it. No one's allowed to bring swords anymore. There you go. That was C. Skipro. This other one comes from Nick. I'm thinking of making the Skyrim steel helmet. How should I make the horns? I don't have access to casting. I can tell you how we made our horns. Steel helmet. I think that's the, yeah, I almost made this one. I like that one a lot. I'm just bringing up a picture right now. Nope, I clicked on the wrong button. I think it's this one. View image. There we go. Oh, that's a nice reference image right there. Let's just zip over to that. All right, that guy right there. How would you do those horns, Steve?
I would make them really light, so I would probably do some kind of a foam on the inside and then like epoxy sculpt or something on the outside.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. For our Draugrs, we did, Brittany fabricated those. The horns were sculpted out of an expanding foam. She did a Pepakura model of them first and then filled it with expanding foam, but you could just as easily get pink insulation foam and glue it together into a big block and then sand it and shape it down to the rough shape. And then to get those ridges on the horn, she sculpted all of that out of Warbler, of all things, which is a good one to use. But epoxy clay, like epoxy sculpt would work really well. Sculpey wouldn't work because you got to heat that, and that would most assuredly melt the foam underneath.
Like freeform air.
Yeah, freeform air. Well. You could use like paper mache. You could use. There's other like water-based clays. Just normal clay would probably crack, but what is it? There's some that's it's basically like paper mache. Paper mache would actually work really well because it's not going to crack. So there you go. There's a handful of ways to solve that problem. I really do hope you like to make that helmet. I almost made that one. And I still kind of want to now. Let's just right click, save image as. Let's go ahead and save that picture on my desktop. All right, that question came to us from Nick. And the next one comes from Mike. When are you coming up with a commission quote? When you are coming up with a commission quote, how do you figure out a reasonable labor cost? I feel like I underquote. You probably do. Most people do. I do. I know I do. How do you figure that out?
It's changed.
Yeah.
I will say that 3 years ago, when I wanted to, hey, this will get me publicity, I'm going to do this for a lot less. You know, I started off at a certain dollar amount, and now it has grown and grown throughout the years because I'm like, all right, I'm starting to get better known for creating really cool-looking stuff. So if I'm going to build something, you know, I want to make sure to get paid for it. And now that I'm doing, you know, additional builds and all that, you know, the one that I saw not long ago was the video on, like, charging more by the day than by the hour.
Is that this one right here?
It is that one there.
Oops.
And I think that's a really good idea because, yeah, you figure you're going to spend at least a day, even if it doesn't take you an whole day, you charge a day's worth.
The video he's talking about after this ad plays is by David Picciuto at Make Something, and how to price your work, a simple technique. So if you go to YouTube and look up that, you'll find it. And it's a really good, he's a woodworker, that's a really good breakdown basically of how to come up with a day rate. What I learned early on was any job under a certain dollar amount just wouldn't make me money, right? And basically that's because if it takes a day, I have to make X amount per day to break even.
Right.
And it was less than that. So I think at that time it was like $300. I would minimum for any project because that was minimum what my day rate was. And that rate includes rent for this shop or materials or time spent buying stuff, going to the hardware store and buying everything. That day rate includes all of these hidden costs that you don't realize until you start adding them all up. And then if that project suddenly takes 2 days, then I need to make $600. If I quoted them at, let's say, I'm like, oh, that would totally only take a day or a couple hours. How about $150? It takes 2 days. I'm negative $400. Like, that's the way you have to look at it, because things stack up so quickly before you're up to your neck and you're like, oh, what happened? How come I'm not making any money doing this? And then as you get better, and here's the other thing too, as you get faster, your day rate goes up. Just because you can do something faster doesn't mean you charge less for a project. The faster and better you are, the more you should be charging. Yeah, so go watch that video. That was a good one. See, I already liked it. And 132 people can go screw themselves because they disliked the video. Have you ever thumbs down a YouTube video? I've never done that.
No, I haven't. But those are the people that are on the other end of the commission. They're the ones that got the outrageous amount to make.
Yeah.
Because he's like, well, if you don't want to build it, charge a ridiculous amount. It's up to them to pay it.
And he says his day rate's like $500. Yeah. That's basically that's the barrier to entry to get him to work on something.
And that's what, my minimum day rate now, when you break it down, is about $50 an hour for actual build.
And if that's a 10-hour day, which, let's be honest, is an easy day.
Right. It's
for the self-employed, that's $500
you see
a
these
day.
Bags? These are not photoshopped or any type of a silicone application.
Another thing you can do, look up freelance wage calculator. There's a couple of them out there. One of the things I like about them is they will force you to put in how much you want to earn. You could budget how much you want to earn, how many of your hours are considered billable hours. So in a day, let's say I'm getting commissioned to build a sword, right? But I also have to check emails and answer stuff and buy materials that aren't directly associated with that project. So let's say I work for 12 hours, but only 6 of those hours were billable hours for the commission. The fewer billable hours you have, the more valuable they are. You have to keep that into account too.
Because that's the thing, you are a specialist at that point. It's not, like when I worked at retail before I did all this, I got paid a lot less per hour. But doing this kind of stuff, you are now, you're a high-end electrician, plumber. You get paid what those guys get paid because you have a special skill. People are coming to you for your skill.
Yes, they are. Dude, those bags are totally CGI. That came from Mike, and the next question comes from a different Mike. Steve, you ever consider live streaming? We've actually been talking about this.
Bill has been trying to convert me over.
No, I haven't. I've just been saying how cool it is.
I understand that. Like, I'm sitting down here for the last couple of hours painting this pistol.
Yeah.
And, like, we're watching Twitch things go on, and in the background I'm like, I wonder if people would want to watch me paint this pistol for 3 hours.
And they would.
So,
I would. If you guys want to see Steve live stream stuff, then tweet at him at SKS Props over on Twitter. Let him know that you want him to live stream. If it's only 2 or 3 people, he probably won't do it. So, and then Mike also wants to know what and how do you recommend for starting up broadcasting through Twitch? It's something I'd like to give a go for my builds. You just need a webcam. Most webcams, like this Logitech that I have right here, has a microphone built right into it. So webcam, computer, go. Just start doing it. Don't worry about, like, we have this chat thing. We have some graphics over here. I can swap between a black screen. Sometimes a web browser I can go. There it works. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just have a webcam. Most laptops have them built right in. Just start streaming and go.
Which I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I came here, like, I expected it to be a lot more complicated than what it is. I am not tech savvy. I do stuff old school. And, I see, little tiny computer, webcams, and that's about it.
It's not too robust. But more than anything, just start doing it. Just start streaming. Get into the habit of doing it. Like, at this point, it would feel weird to stop for me. We were talking about that. I have so much time invested into all these YouTube videos that I make, but I'm like, it's just at this point it would be crazy to stop. I just built up so much momentum. Last question. This comes from Trickster. What's your biggest barrier to starting making props? Or what was your biggest barrier? And what would you tell somebody so they didn't struggle with those barriers? I didn't know it was a thing I could do until I saw Harrison doing it. I was like, hey, look, that looks like fun. I think I'll start doing that. And then I just went to the hardware store, bought some tools, and hit the ground running. Like, there was no barrier to starting for me. I just didn't realize it was available.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing is, like, I don't know how you were, but, like, I would go on and I'd look at, like, movies and they make, costumes and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that'd be really cool to own that. I never in my mind was like,
why don't I make it?
And that's where I was an illustrator for 15 years, freelance.
Right.
And then my buddies were like, hey, my cousin builds costumes on the RPF. And I was like, what's that? And I went and looked at it and I'm like, well, why don't I try that?
Yeah.
And 3.5 years later,
once you see it, someone doing it, you're like, people do make those. People like me. They don't just come out of a magic costume factory. That people just make those. And that's when I realized that, I was like, this changes everything. I can totally do that. And I just got started. So more than anything, just get started. Awesome. All right. That is it. That is the end of our questions and the end of the show. Thank you, everyone, for showing up for the live. Thank you, Stephen, for hanging out.
Having me.
And, of course, Emerald City Comicon this weekend. We will be doing some panels. We'll have the Meetup on Saturday if you're going to be in Emerald City Comicon or even in Seattle.
Stop by, say hi.
Swing by. 4:15 in the international meeting area by the crazy natural ingredient smoothie shop that's there, if you're into that. It's going to be a really good time. You won't need a badge for that, but if you do have a badge, come see our panels. They're going to be really fun. We'll post links to all of that stuff here coming up. So, what else? Next week I'm going to be in San Francisco working on some stuff. So I don't know if we're going to have a show next week. We'll try. Maybe Brittany may be putting on a show, actually. So look forward to that. But until next time, thank you for your questions and thank you for showing up. And we will see you all in the next episode of Prop Live.